Did it work? Yes. Okay. Hate lag time. So, this is what we did last time, correct? Your behavior operates on its environment. Your behavior operates on its environment. So if you have never ever tried to weigh or assess the weight of anything, you've never dealt drugs, do you know how much 100 grams is? Does anybody here bake? Okay, can you guess how much a cup of flour is? You don't, I use measure, yeah. My buddy Leo grew up, his dad owned a pizza restaurant. So he grew up as a kid pretty much working in the kitchen of a pizza restaurant. When he makes this little very expensive wood-fired oven. It's about this big. It's like a little tiny pizza oven that you put these little wood pellets in, and it gets like 1,000 degrees, and you cook the pizzas in this little, he's really crazy about it. But when he makes his flour, he orders his flour from Italy in these little canisters. And when he gets it, he weighs every single little amount, puts them in these little bowls, so when he makes each pizza, everything is exactly measured. Why? What if you're off by a little bit when you just eyeball your cup? It tastes nasty. Baking is about proper ratios. And if you're off just by like chocolate chip cookies in the Weinert household, my wife, when she makes chocolate chip cookies, always adds an extra quarter cup of flour to the recipe. And her cookies are amazing because she adds just a little bit more flour than you're supposed to. And for the way that she likes her chocolate chip cookies, that's ideal chocolate chip cookie texture. We also make sugar cookies every year. We make this giant box of sugar cookies every year. And we give them out to all of our neighbors, and then we end up eating too many of them, gaining about 70 pounds, and then throwing them away at the end of the season. But her cookie recipe is on this old folded piece of card that her mom wrote down 1,000,000 years ago. And why follow that recipe exactly? It works. Okay? So the more you bake, believe it or not, the better you are at measuring things. And because it matters. If you've never ever baked anything other than looking at the back of a box of brownies, getting frustrated, and then having someone else do it. So I have one of my classes, I had them I gave a wad of clay, and I said, okay, give me 100 grams of clay. Anyone want to try it? I know, there's a lot of pressure. So, give me 100 grams of clay. There's a wad of clay. Give me 100 grams of that. You're not allowed to weigh it. You just have to just eyeball it. Science. All right, I'm going to tell you, here's your wad of clay back. That is a little bit too light. A little teeny bit. Okay, excellent. That actually probably is right on. It is still about just a little tiny bit too light. A little bit, tiny bit more than that. There you go. Excellent. The texture of this is very weird, isn't it? Play-Doh. It's really, I just had to knead it up. Okay, you are still a little bit too light. Okay, so how many trials has she had so far? 4, okay. And you're at 100 grams. Okay, wait. Give me 100 grams. I'm going to hide this thing so you can see. How do you think she did? Why would she say, I'm sorry, I'm not being mean to you. Why would she do too much? Because last time it was too little, so this time you're going to err on the more than you think side. Let's see how it is. you're over by the same amount that that one was under. So, okay, so take a chunk off of this. You're still over. Okay, we can keep doing this all day. Okay, so I had my statistics class do this. Okay, good morning. Okay, so when my statistics class did this, they all got wads of clay, and I actually made it even more difficult. I had to make one ball 100 grams, another ball 5 ounces. They're like, so one girl comes in like this. She has no idea, so what'd she do? She just dumped it all in there. It's like, there's my answer. She made 320 grams of dough in one lump because she has no idea. But as soon as you get feedback, as soon as they say, oh, it's a little bit less, what happens? You start making small adjustments until it's right. It's like when you have like half a bag of flour and you only have like 2.5 cups left. You're like, oh no, can you adjust the rest of the math of the recipe to fix? Yeah, that's why they teach you how to do fractions. So you can, hey, anyway. So in this particular case, what behavior am I trying to establish? What's your first name again? For Soraya, what am I trying to get her to do? What behavior am I trying to get her to do? Give me 100 grams of clay. So, do you think humans have the ability to determine the difference between 100 and 120 grams by holding it? Do you think you have is that in our nature? Well, can you determine can you feel the difference between 100 and 120 grams? Because the scales gradations on here are about 20 grams each. So plus or minus 20 grams would be about close. So between 80 and 120, that's going to be about the same weight in the scale. It's not very accurate. But could you tell the difference? Somebody lifts weights in here. Can you tell the difference when you add 2 10-pound weights on each side of the bar? 20 pounds, it makes a big difference. Okay, can you tell a 2.5? No. Especially when you're trying to max and you add an extra 5 pounds, you got a 2.5 on each side. That 5 pounds add, you're like, I got this! This is awesome! Yeah! Put those 2.5 on. Oh no! It's only 5 pounds, but can you notice? Humans are very good at judging weights of things. Like, how do I know if this is full or not? I pick it up. I forgot that I actually filled it up, and it is full. When I first tried to pick it up, how come I couldn't pick it up for half a second? I thought I didn't remember that I went out there and filled it up with that nice metallic tasting water they have out there. Fresh. Okay. So, your behavior operates on its environment. The more times I have her grab a chunk of clay and measure and weigh it, grab a chunk of clay and weigh it, eventually you get to the point where I can grab just a random chunk of clay and kind of look at it and feel it, and what will it be? Today. Oh, okay, just for the record. Can you see the numbers? Here's the 100 the red line. Yeah. How come I can just grab 100 grams of clay? I've been doing this for the last week and a half. And also, I happen to have a learning. My wife and I weigh all of our food and our feces. No, okay. People actually do that. Please don't do that. It's a sign of a disorder. But we weigh everything that we eat. Why do we weigh everything that we eat? We keep track of everything that we eat. And it's kind of been a fun game. We started doing it at the beginning of this year. We're keeping track. Because of my type 2 diabetes, I have to be really careful with what I eat, because if I eat too much crap, my blood sugar goes really high, and then I feel really lousy. Like yesterday, I ate like 6 peanut butter or little chocolate covered pretzels from Trader Joe's. I highly recommend buying those for an egregious road trip. They're so good. But what happened after eating them? Too much sugar. And so I felt like crap for an hour or two afterwards. So my son and I went and played basketball. Why go play basketball when you feel like crap? It lowers my blood sugar. So I'll go for a walk or go for a run or something and lower my blood sugar back down. I could learn not to eat the pretzels. But why? Why would I eat them? That's crazy talk. Are they a reward or a punishment? When do I get punished for eating them? After. When do I get rewarded for eating them? Now, eating them. So why do I eat them? Now is better than later. Anybody lactose intolerant in here? Cheese still tastes good. Do you still like cheese? Yeah. I was like, I'm going to eat this anyway. 8 hours later, you're like, oh, but it's so good right now. Yeah, I was lactose intolerant for many years. I finally got my body to start eat yogurt. Yogurt's a way to help, unless you have a genetic lactose intolerance. Why eat yogurt? The critters inside of it help replenish your body's biome. Yeah, there's all sorts of good and bad bacteria in there. I got really, really sick. I got a bad stomach flu back right 1997, 1998, and I couldn't digest dairy for 10 years after that because of my stomach just ruined. Awful. Okay. So, how do I know if something's a reward or a punishment? How do I know if something is good or bad? Based on the change in my behavior. Okay, get my pen. So, I didn't mean to do that. So, there's the Z-score that represents a two-tailed thing. Okay. Okay. So, how do I know? Well, how can I change your stimuli in your environment? Where do these stimuli come from? What does this word mean? We talked about this last time. Oh, come on. The surrounding world that we live in. Do you know what smells are in the room right now? All I can smell is Play-Doh. Probably you too. Because yeah. I like how all the colors, this is how my Play-Doh always looked as a kid. I'm the kid who always mix all the colors together and it turns into gray. That's me. Those people up here that have this disorder called conscientiousness, keep their Play-Dohs and Legos separate. Not me. Okay, so, and yes, I do store all my food together when I eat it. Aha, see, I knew there were people like you. Okay, well, why would you do that? That's crazy talk. It's all going to the same place, and if you put it all inside of a tortilla, different than... Okay, sorry. Okay, so when we talk about this idea of your Umwelt, are you aware of smells as much as dogs are aware of smells? No. So if I go to my little picture here of Doggo, where'd Doggo go? There's Doggo. What is she doing? Oh, even better than that. She's drooling. Why is she drooling? Well, how do you know it smells good? Dogs drool. Why do dogs drool? Let me make this a bright color here. When a stimulus is present for a dog, it will cause the dog to drool. Anybody have a drooly dog in here? What kind of dog? Lab, yeah. What do you got? Pit bulls are great drooly dogs because they have no care about their spit whatsoever. They'll smile. They shake, and they get it too much, they go. I love dogs with big square heads. And that's why I love pit bulls. They're my favorite. You just grab them by the head and go, ooh, you're a big dog. And they're like, okay. So the more spit that the dog produces, well, why do you think the dogs produce spit? What's the point of this reflex? Yeah. The spit for dogs is actually the first stage of digestion. It is for humans too, but we don't produce that much spit. We don't have that much saliva that produces compared to the amount that dogs produce. And as a result, like for example, if you give your dog a piece of lemon, the dog will produce saliva that actually is neutralizing the acid. The sour, the dog's enzymes in its mouth change the spit. If you give the dog a piece of meat, what do you think the enzymes start to do? They break down the meat. This stupid little thing, her name was Nala. She passed away about 10 years ago now. But she was our first child. There's lots of pictures of her. But she was we got her in Encanto. We went and there was a free puppies thing, and they had this thing called the Penny Saver years ago. It was pre-Craigslist, basically Craigslist. The free classified ads, you just could get the Penny Saver. The free puppies. Oh, free puppies. Went down to this little junkyard in Encanto, and there's this canyon, and they had a whole bunch of puppies. And the guy's like, can you please just take 2 or 3 of them because we can't afford to feed them, and we don't want them to get sick. Great. So we grabbed the runt of the litter, who was the mangiest, nastiest one that we could find, and brought her home thinking we were being the, white saviors because it's a little black dog. But that's funny if you study. Thank you. Okay, so $600 worth of damn vet bills later, and Mangy Little Dog is our mangy little family member now. And she's a wonderful little dog, and she's super cute, and she had this bad problem of being a runt. So what did she learn through her entire life? How do the runts of the litter survive? They can't push through. They're not big enough. Sneak and steal. Sneak and steal. So she would sneak and steal food constantly. She's got I forget how many dollars a pound her damn dog food was that we bought. Super healthy dog food. Our little white fluffy dog, it's $21 for this 5-pound bag of food. It's the only food that doesn't give her the shit, so it's good. You don't want a white fluffy dog with a skid mark going down. Sorry. So, but Nala, one day after school, I'm setting up dinner, and I put the tri-tips, I put it on the counter, I look her over, and then she's like, huh? On the counter with a tri-tip in her mouth. That's a big chunk of meat. She can't swallow it. And it was like one of those stands-off. And she's standing there going, I'm looking at her, you're going to drop that. She's like, maybe. She finally did drop it. And what was on the piece of meat? 2 gray stripes. So gray stripes were literally her saliva digesting the meat as she was holding it in her mouth. If she were to manage to chew a chunk of it off and swallow it, she would have swallowed a whole chunk, like this big. Could she digest that entire chunk of meat? Yeah, if you tried to do that, your stomach would hurt, you'd choke, A. B, your stomach would hurt for days because that meat would be rotting in your intestines. There's no way the inside of that meat would ever get digested. Yeah. Yeah, they just go chomp, and they produce so much spit, they just go chomp, gulp. I wish I had pictures of her eating her dinner, because we couldn't just leave food out for her, because what would she do? Just drain the bowl. So when we first got her, we just left food out for her. So I used to leave food out for my cat all the time. And the cat would go by and eat a piece and walk away, and go back and eat a piece and walk away. This thing, and wouldn't I breathe until she finished the bowl of food? Because in her learning history, in her baggage that she had as a little baby puppy, what did she learn about eating? Don't wait. If you wait, what happens to your food? Other animals will eat it. Somebody else will eat my food. Anyway, this became extremely fun for the children because, let's go to another one here, not there. Okay, so are reflexes behaviors or stimuli? Behaviors. Reflex is a behavior. What's it caused by? Stimulus. Something in your umvelt that triggers a behavior automatically, we call the word a reflex. Very simple. When a dog smells food, it drools. We can show you this by getting my glasses on. I like this one. Maybe this one might not work. Oh, it does. Here's the lab sitting in the kitchen. Yuck. Okay. We can also, this is another good one. Oh, we don't want to see the hospital epidural. That's not good. Let's see. Where's the begging one? Nala beg. I need to put music behind this. I used to have one with music behind it, but I lost it. What happened to the video? So this is me eating a peanut butter sandwich. How do I know the dog is anticipating getting some peanut butter sandwich? Well, what about dogs' ears? What do? Dogs' ears are very impressive, even though these are folded over. Anybody have a dog with radar ears, the ones that stick up, like their German Shepherd? These people have little ears that stick up? Oh, Pomeranian. Pomeranian's got great radar ears. Your ears stick straight up. Okay? And there's a dog in the car the other day that I swear, in one of the cars next to us, that was part coyote. Ears are like this long and just sitting straight up. And one ear would kind of rotate all around like this. The other ear was rotating around like this. And so, of course, I'm in my car going, "Hey, doggo, hey!" And then the neighbor, as soon as I'd whistle, the dog would do this and look around. So I take my sunglasses off, make eye contact, and go, "Hi, buddy." And also the dog's like, "Woo." And both ears are facing towards me because that's a reflex. When a dog pays attention, its ears focus on where its attention is focused. Notice her one ear keeps looking toward the front of the house. And this side, on her left ear, keeps looking toward the front of the house. Oh, wait, not now. Why is she getting more excited? She always gets the last bite of the sandwich. So why is she becoming more... Look at her, how big her eyes are now compared to where they were before. I'm getting small. The sandwich is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. It's very exciting. So something is making noise out in front of the house, and she's interested in what's out there, but why is she not going to investigate what's going on out there? The sandwich is getting smaller, which means, there it is, the last bite of the sandwich. Now, watch her behavior after she finishes. Her teeth were so white back then. She wasn't quite so healthy looking when she finally passed away. Can you see a change in her behavior now that there's no more sandwich? She's going to check to make sure. Any sandwich in there? Watch the eyeballs. All right then. Can you see a change in her behavior now that I don't have a sandwich? Yeah, she's still going to sit there because she enjoys my company, and she would always come and sit next to me, whatever I was doing. She'd walk over, but would she sit and stare at me intently? No. When would she stare? When the stimulus was present. So what happens is I become what's called a conditioned stimulus. A conditioned stimulus. So this is what, there's a gentleman in the book we talked about named Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov studied dog spit. He got a Nobel Prize for studying digestion. What he got really irritated was, though, is that every time he would set the apparatus, he'd have these little test tubes connected to the salivary glands on the dogs. He'd connect the test tube to the salivary glands, give the dog some sort of food of some sort, and measure the spit coming out. After doing this for 5 or 6 days with the dog, he'd go in with the dog and he'd get the test tube and he's about to plug it into the dog's salivary gland, and all of a sudden the dog's already drooling. He's like, why is the dog drooling? He measured the spit, and sure enough, the spit that was coming out was what he was going to be testing. He was conditioned. The dog, I mean, anybody who owns a dog knows this happens. Well, as soon as you grab that leash, or as soon as it's close to time to go for a walk, what does the dog already start to do? It creates a new connection. I have the video of this. It's really kind of annoying. My kids love this one.
She'll do it, Steve. Just give her a chance. You want it to be natural.
So labs have a problem, is that they're extremely cocky dogs. They bark at everything. I was digging a hole in the ground in our yard because our neighbor's house pipes leaked so bad our house was getting flooded underneath. So I dug a well under our house and collected all the water running from their house and used it to water our lawn. Expensive. Anyway, so she barked at the hole for about half an hour. She comes out in the yard, woof, 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 woof. Like, why are you barking at a hole in the ground?
What is it, Noah? Looks like a hole in the ground.
She barks at everything. We hear her barking in the backyard for like 20 minutes. We go out there, there's a cricket walking across the thing, and she's like, "Burst! Burst!" And the poor cricket's like, "Just kill me or just leave me alone, please." We saw an alligator lizard stuck to her nose once. That was pretty cool. You know, if an alligator lizard bites you and you kill it, the jaws stay locked. Anyway, so moving on. So, is it in the dog's nature to bark? Yeah, that's a natural reflex that labs have, and a lot of barky dogs. Does your Pomeranian bark? Yeah, Pomeranians are very good barky dogs. The pit bulls don't bark nearly as much. You bark that? Oh. So, just your neighbor? Yeah. There's some shenanigans when you're not home, is what I'm thinking. No. But, and it's like German Shepherds don't like to bark either. But what about a collie? Anybody have a collie in here? Collies are those really long, pointy dogs that they're very long-haired, kind of fancy. They bark constantly at everything. They're terrible neighbor dogs. Our neighbors have an Italian greyhound right now, a little tiny greyhound. His name's Zero. It really does look, when you drape a sheet on it, it looks just like the exact skeleton dog. Anyway, but it barks at everything until it knows what it is. Like if I make a noise, Zero starts barking, and you go, "Hi, Zero!" All of a sudden you hear this little squeak, and he's wagging his tail at the fence. There's a hole in the fence. I pet Zero through the hole. Don't pet their other dog through the hole in the fence, because you stick your finger through the fence and it'll nip at your finger. It tries to get you. That's Princess. She's a teacup chihuahua. She's got a teeth. Okay, moving on. A very large ear gap with a big head and an attitude. Okay, moving on. So now, hey Google, play a doorbell sound.
This is a doorbell.
Okay, so what does that sound have to do with barking? someone at the door. So someone at the door is a stimulus in the dog's belt. Whenever somebody strange is in our space, what does the dog do?
Hello?
We don't have a doorbell. This is our first house. Didn't have a doorbell. So what was the signal that told her that someone was here? Hello. Or those two sounds would cause the dog to panic and bark. But now,
She'll do it, Steve. Just give her a chance. She wants to be natural.
so was that actually, yeah, the reason why it sounds like she's screaming is because she's barking while inhaling. Woo! Okay? The kids discovered this very quickly, and whenever she was eating, remember how she ate, she snarf, 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 they'd ring the doorbell when she was eating. And so what would happen? She'd go, and it was just like, coughing food all over the kitchen, and then run to the front door and bark. Is she thinking that there's someone at the door? You stand with her outside the front door. You go, dog, I'm outside. The dog looks at you. Yeah. You ring the doorbell. The dog woof, and runs all the way around to an open door and comes to the front of the door and barks. If I tell Google, hey Google, play a doorbell.
Doorbell by Small Town Titans, sure. Playing on YouTube.
Hey Google, stop it. It doesn't respond when you tell it to stop. You can hear it pouting. Okay. Hey Google, play a doorbell sound.
This is a doorbell.
Why she has two voices like that? Fine. That's some famous director that lent her voice to do this, so I put it as my Google. My son did it, and then I got it to it. Okay, moving on. So, is she really thinking in this situation? She's just not to the doorbell, to the stimulus. Could I make any stimulus associated with someone coming to the door? Anything within her belt, I can attach to this. So dogs have a really neat ability. So anything that I can attach in her belt to a reflex can be conditioned. Our good friend Chantel, her son Spencer, went to school with my daughter. Spencer has epilepsy. Because he has epilepsy, what does he have occasionally? Seizures. Okay, so as a 12, 13-year-old kid, having a seizure is an extremely embarrassing thing. They don't happen very often, but he does have them. And the worst part is a lot of times when he has his seizures, he doesn't have full-on grand mal seizures, but if he has to pee and he has a seizure, what happens? He pees. Ooh. Which, if you're at school and you have a seizure and all the kids are, oh, cool, you have a seizure. But then if you wet yourself, middle school kids are brutal. Okay, so Spencer has a dog named Aussie. Aussie is a golden retriever, beautiful, fluffy dog that's trained to bark at him when he's about to have a seizure. How does the dog know? Dogs' belts are so complicated that they can tell whether you have cancer or not by smelling you. Their beagles are trained to find cancers in patients. There's diabetic dogs that can tell you what your blood sugar is. Excuse me, sir, your blood sugar is getting too high. Please take some insulin. They don't really have quite so many words, and they don't really know what they're smelling, but you train them. All you do is just say, hey, if this stimulus is, you get the person's blood sugar high measured on a scale, And then you train the dog. When the person smells like this, bark at them or put their paw on them. That's what happens with Spencer. The dog sits in front of him and starts barking. About a minute before he has a seizure. Why is that good for him? He can go to the bathroom. Or he can go to the nurse. Or if he's by himself, he can go, Mom, I'm going to have a seizure. Or go out somewhere where he is safer than wherever he is. If he's riding his bike and the dog starts barking at him, he can get off his bike. So what this has actually done is reduced a tremendous amount of stress in his life. And there's actually some new drugs now. There's a nasal spray drug. My daughter played volleyball with this girl, and I was talking with her dad. He is a pharmaceutical guy, and they have a nasal spray that you can, like Afrin, those little nasal things that you stick up your nose. But if you're about to have a seizure, you can take this medicine, and it blocks the seizure from happening, if you can tell before you have the seizure. So guess what the dog could do? Like, hey, take your drugs, you're going to have a seizure. Which is better than being medicated all the time, because the medications that you have, if you take all the time, lower brain activity. Which makes it hard to think and concentrate. It's like being slightly drunk all the time. No, it's not good. Sounds cool, but no, it's not good. Okay, trust me, I haven't heard that. Okay, so what is a conditioned stimulus then? Can someone try to define it after all that? Yeah. It's an associated stimulus. So, what is most of our conditioned responses? That's a terrible sentence, sorry. What are most of our conditioned responses? Do you think the dog is really thinking, or is it unconscious? Unconscious. It's emotional reaction. So, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but this all of a sudden starts becoming extremely relevant to your lives. Does anybody here have a food that they absolutely hate and cannot stand eating? Oh! You're dead to me, sir. No. Why peanut butter sandwich? But so, you have a peanut allergy? So there's no danger involved with the peanut butter sandwich. Peanut allergy, not liking peanuts, that's okay. I accept that. But so, do you know the story? So, somewhere in your past, in your learning history, in this little wheeling bag of suitcase, I'm going to guarantee that you may have choked on a peanut butter sandwich at some point in your elementary school life. Anybody ever had that? You're a kid, you're trying to rush through your sandwich, and you got a white bread peanut butter sandwich that is not emulsifying at all, and you just say, I'm just going to swallow it. And you're looking around for something to drink. We all been there. Okay, but how come he doesn't like peanut butter? But do you think he had some association in his past with it? Does anybody know the association with a food that they don't like? So why? Okay, so that's the kind of story I'm looking for. Yeah. Okay, so one that you ask your parents why you don't like peanut butter. They might have your story. It might have happened before you formed conscious memory. But okay, so why a pickled egg? Can you eat regular hard-boiled egg? So what's unique about a pickled egg? It has a very strong presence in your umbilic. Was it purple or clear? Purple one. Yeah, I love those. You pickle red onions with beets, and then you soak hard-boiled eggs in the pickled beets with the onions, and then you have gas after eating those. On point. You can clear out like 6-7 rooms. It's just nice. It's just, Okay, sorry. So, I actually made those last year. My wife was out of town. I'm like, I'm making pickled eggs. Why would my wife be out of town when I make pickled eggs? She likes them, but you can't make our house smell like boiled onions and beets with vinegar. Yeah, immediately his nose goes. Just talking about it does what to his, what is your conditioned response? Discuss. Okay, what's yours? Hot dogs? Story. There you go. The visual really adds a nice chunk. Pardon the pun. Okay. Really, I should chew more. Do you have a good story? No. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, it was probably fertilized. Yeah. And so they change. And some people like that. You can buy fertilized eggs at health food markets because changes the chemistry, let me tell you. Okay. So that one taste changed the way all eggs are. So what we start to see is that your umvelt around you is not literally what everybody else sees. Everybody here has a different sensory perception around us based on these associated stimuli. And they produce, remember, what are emotions? Yeah. So as soon as I even just, you start thinking of the story of pickled eggs, your stomach goes, I don't want to eat that. The taste aversion, that's the clinical term for this, is taste aversion. But we all do this. It's funny because our neighbor kids are being standard annoying neighbor kids, and they all, our annual Christmas party, they all decided to start sneaking some alcohol. You know, they're all in freshman high school. They snuck a bunch of alcohol from the adult part of the party, and they were drinking in one of the girls' rooms at the house. So what do you think happened for inexperienced drinkers? It was like a crime scene in the bathroom when they all tried to go and throw up at the same time. Just awfulness. And then it came out that someone had a vape pen, and then it came out that somebody may or may not have had some marijuana gummy bears, and it was just your standard freshman in high school, let's experiment and ruin it for everybody. Okay, but what's funny about this is that when we had a Super Bowl party at their house, their kids didn't go anywhere near that bar. Why? Bad experience. And it's funny, they did find one of the other kids had 2 vape pens. So how come the vaping didn't get stopped? The alcohol is what they associated with as the problem. I guarantee alcohol and nicotine mixed together increases your probability of vomiting. Just saying. Okay, no, I feel better when I smoke. Well, yeah, if you think. Okay. So the idea about pre-thinking is that when you get into a situation, all of these stimuli are in your unconscious mind pushing on you. And I'm going to go back to this little formula up here because a lot of these stimuli that affect your behavioral probability, whether they're reinforcement or punishment, has to do with the behavior, the past. I didn't lift weights all week last week, just because I was sick and I wanted to recover, and I'm not going to push myself. I used to always just try to work through it and get sick longer. I got smart last year. I took time off and rested, and I recovered faster. The worst thing ever. So, but what happens when you take a week or 2 off at the gym? When you go back? You're so sore. I got to do clean and squats yesterday. Clean and squats are great. And then you press it at the end. And so we kept adding weight till you can barely do 3, and then you do 6 sets of that 3. It's so much fun to pick up heavy things again. But when I just did that squat right now, what happened? This is extremely sore, these are extremely sore, and my traps right here are crazy sore. Is that a reward or punishment? It's a reward. Why is it a reward? I did it right. What if my shoulder hurts? Punishment. Because I got out of position on something. It's like my son thought it would be funny. He's getting strong enough now that, like, he used to be able to do things like I'd put my hand out, he'd grab it, and he couldn't move my arm. But he's getting big enough now, he like pulled my arm straight back and just kept pulling it back. And it goes crack! He likes to go, I'm like, ow. It was just some cartilage being loosened up. It's fine, but it's one of those things, it's like, he's getting strong enough now, he realizes that when he tries to do stuff like punch me, what happens? It hurts. He's acting. I snapped him with a towel yesterday. It's due now. Got him right in the forehead. Pow! Good parenting. Okay, moving on. He goes, oh, payback. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to expect that. Mark, just hit the fat now. Just go for it. Okay. So now. So I'm gonna pause the live recording. I want to show you some advertisements. Okay? And when I show you the advertisements, how does advertising work? Advertising is a lot of classical conditioning. I'm going to write this up here because I didn't say that. Advertising is a lot of classical conditioning. Because what we do is we create these relationships. We create relationships with stimuluses that are rewards. We also create stimuluses that are what's really interesting is that when you listen to some of the ads, listen to popular radio and some of the political ads that are floating around, it's actually really kind of funny. Do we want to turn into the Soviet Union? No. Don't vote for Bernie Sanders. Trump's going to turn into the Soviet Union much faster than Bernie will. But what do they mean? What's wrong with Sanders? Socialist. And all you have to do is say the word socialist, and every Republican on the world goes, well, I'm voting for Trump. Regardless of whether they like him or not, that's the exact opposite of any Republican ever. So all the Republican ads are attacking Sanders based on socialism. And it's interesting because when you look at the reality of situations, there's no way that Sanders can make the United States a socialist country. It's just not in our nature. And he doesn't want to. But why do they say that? To get more people. So it's a negative ad. So all of a sudden you start hearing Sanders and you start feeling bad. Advertising. And if listening to the attack ads is kind of great. And I always think it's kind of strange, like when the Democrats got a bunch of people running against each other, they all start attacking each other. What does that do for the general election? It doesn't make you want to vote for anybody. And that's what happened with Hillary. Hillary didn't do a very good job of campaigning. And everybody kept attacking her, so people didn't want to vote for her. So they either didn't vote or they voted for Trump. Oops. But again, all depending on if you want to change the reward or punishment, what do you have to change? Change the association. Is it a pain in the butt to weigh everything that you eat? Not at all. Because once you get good at weighing stuff, do you really need to sit with a digital scale and weigh everything? So if I need to pull out 100 grams of chicken, is it easy for me to pull out 100 grams of chicken? Yeah. So I do. I'm getting much better as I go. Okay. So I can, and I literally have been doing this in my office for since I've had the Play-Doh and the scale sitting in there. So then somebody said, well, pull out 150 grams. Sure, I make 200 gram balls, cut one in half. There you go. But again, so like, it's the association. And as soon as you start associating things, I don't have to use the scale anymore. I know, like last night we had pasta. Oh, I don't eat pasta, but I used spaghetti squash. 220 grams of spaghetti squash is 50 calories. That's a large plate of squash with 50 calories. You mix it with spaghetti sauce. Our spaghetti sauce had carrots and mushrooms and garlic and lean ground turkey and the white linen marinara from Costco. Anybody have that? So freaking good. And then an extra tablespoon of olive oil mixed in. So it's super yummy food. Do the kids eat that? No. The kids won't eat that. So we have a big bucket of rigatoni. We throw the pasta sauce on that. My son right now for lunch has capers, butter, and a big Tupperware thing full of rigatoni. He'll eat that. 700 calories worth of food. Perfect for him for lunch. Capers, yeah, he's good. Okay. But again,